So at Migori, our objectives in Kenya are to build 2 to 3 million ounce resource base, which, given the fact that the whole system's mineralized, there's so much gold there being mined at surface at very high grade by artisans, and the fact we're already at 1.2 million ounces, the fact that south of the border in places like North Mara, you have multi-million ounce deposits, we should be able to get there. But to get to 2 to 3 million ounces, that's the point at which we start to attract the attention of the majors, like Barrick and AngloGold south of the border. And so another thing we spend a lot of time doing is get a data room with all the information so that we can interface with majors in a proper professional way, which has meant doing a lot of work because it wasn't in a good state. This is the stages of exploration we've been through. Phase 1 has really been getting the database together, doing a bit of extra drilling. We're doing the geophysics, we've done it, we're waiting for the interpretation over the whole area, and we've done a lot of geology. All the old material has been digitized, incorporated in databases, and so on. The interpretation second is now taking place, or beginning to take place. Then, towards the end of the year, we'll move into drilling programs. Just to draw attention to the Gossan, which is near the old Macalda mine, this contains high-grade material. We haven't touched it so far because there's a lot of little workings like wormholes in an apple. We don't know exactly where they are, they haven't been mapped, and working there could be dangerous because things could collapse on you. But where we've taken surface samples, I'll just point out the grade in the Gossan area have been 5 to 20 grams, 35 grams. There are some very good grades there, and in principle, that is a little pocket of mineralization we can one day produce from. But we can't take risks with human lives, and so we are not able to do that as quickly as we'd like. The old Macalda tailings dam, here you can see all the workings from the old mine. The tailings dam is here, and it's that area where we have developed a resource by drilling it out in detail, and we got the sampling done. We had CSA produce an indicated JORC resource, which they'll raise to measured once we've got the metallurgy in. The metallurgy has basically all been done by one of the 2 or 3 best labs in the world in Australia, Amdel, who are looking there for the gold, the silver, which is better than an ounce a ton. The gold is about 1.6 grams a ton. Where are we? Yeah, 1.6 grams a ton. Silver, reassaying that, we think it's going to be well over an ounce a ton. We've got zinc grades, cobalt grades. Cobalt's now quite valuable, so that could be significant. And copper grades, yeah, around 0.5%. But what we don't know is which of these we can get out in which sequence. We have about 1.4 million tons there, so we know we've got 75,000 ounces of gold. The question is how much of it can we get out? And of the 1.5 million ounces, or whatever it happens to be, 1.6, of silver, we don't know how much of that we'll get out. But these are the next things we're looking at, interpreting that metallurgy, and then we can very quickly come to a production decision, and we hope we can be producing from the tailings. Meantime, we're building up our resource base. So that's the area where we've done the V10, which is the EM, look down 500 meters, looking for repetitions of the Macalda copper gold mineralization. Found some interesting things there, just don't find through that. We're still interpreting it. And then we've done magnetics and radiometrics over the whole license area, and we're interpreting that. So we flew 2,300 line kilometers, and some areas in more detail. So what we're doing now, to reiterate, we, as part of our phase 2, we're finalizing the database, we're looking at the assay results, we're interpreting with geophysics and geochemistry. We will then have locations for the drill holes to firm up, enlarge the resource in the main areas, to look for high-grade mineralization and to find new targets. In particular, obviously, we'll be focused on areas where we can produce from the surface. And long-term, what do we do with Kenya? If we build up 3 or 4 million ounces at low grade, which would be typical, or maybe more, which would be typical of the kind of thing they see in Tanzania, in our view, the exploitation of huge low-grade gold deposits is something the big companies do extremely well, but is risky for small companies. So we would look to cash out or joint venture that at some stage. When it comes to Colombia, we're dealing with something very different, which is an area where we are in production with very high-grade gold, and we would anticipate staying with that as operators for a long time. What we don't have is resource. So we have resource in Kenya with no production yet, and we have production in Colombia with no resource. And the reason is that in the time since the modern codes have come in, no drilling has been done to prove up to code standards. But since you've got a 45 degree dipping vein, 0.4 meters to maybe maximum of 2 meters wide, going down like this, then the expenditure of going 300 meters plus underground and blocking out in advance by drilling, what your resources would be disproportionate to the benefit. As long as the vein is there, as long as we understand the geology, it actually makes more sense not to do too much work on the resource, but just to carry on mining. In particular, for reasons I'll give you later, because we think that there are extensions west and east and north and south. There are other areas we can get, and we can increase production quite a lot. And that's where our concentration should be. We are going to 100 tons a day by November, December. That work is going extremely well. This was the second oldest mine in the area. Is one we have one. The oldest is Frontino, which is 150 years old, producing about 40,000 ounces a year, and it's down 2 kilometers underground. Amazingly, Colombia, which used to be the biggest gold producer in South America, before the discovery of the South African gold fields, it was always #1 and #2 world gold producer. It's produced more gold than any other country in South America. At the moment, the production is so low, even though Colombia is one of the big three in terms of coal exports and has a lot of oil and gas and precious stones. In terms of gold production, apart from that 40,000 ounces coming from Frontino, everything is small artisanal stuff. Production is quite low. So although big Canadian companies and others have now gone in and are exploring in the porphyry belt there and have found 15 million ounce, 12 million ounce size deposits, that's not in production. They're essentially low grade. We think the old mesothermal vein systems, which traditionally produce the gold in Colombia, are not worked out by any means. They're immature acids, and there's huge potential there on the last frontiers. Most of the gold was from Antioquia, that's where we are historically. And this is Antioquia big scale. And here's the Frontino gold belt, Frontino mine there, just Medellin there. Medellin is a beautiful place, city of perpetual spring, always green, hilly, verdant, and very developed, more developed than Bogota. This is the vein system. Here we are. And these mesothermal veins can go on for hundreds of miles, broken up, changed, but the same system. There are probably 2 or 3 in parallel. So we've only got a tiny bit of it. We see a lot of expansion capacity. There we are, our 2 mines. Aurora we're just bringing into production. El Limon already in production, but we're increasing production 30 times in the next month or so as we bring the processing plant back into commission. It used to be run by Fisher Watt of America in the late 90s. We've got their SEC filings, Canadians have built it in the past, so it's not just a local operation. This is a historic mining area where North American companies have been involved. It needs a bit of investment. That investment has taken place. That's what we put the money in for. And down to 380 meters. And we've got surface plant with 150 ton a day capacity.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 5 minutes.
The structure of the deal in Colombia was we made a 3-year loan, $2 million. And we expect from that $2 million to get returns of interest, management fees, and compensating payments based on EBITDA, amounting to about $6 million over 3 years. And we also have an option to buy 51% of the company, which will cost us $7.5 million. And we expect to exercise that option as well. So in Colombia, our objectives are, first of all, to expand capacity. I think with the plant that we have at the moment, and the easy expansions we can make to it, which is just 1 or 2 modules. We see our way to joint capacity, in the local company, up to say 50,000 ounces per year. And the roadmap to that is quite easy to see. Of course, what we want to do is get up from that to 100,000 ounces a year. Those will be the next steps, and that's what we're going to focus on. And then 200,000 ounces a year would be our target during the course of the next year to get up to that annualized production by one means or another during 2011. So we're looking for other properties. We're expanding the processing plant capacity. We're also looking for extensions to the vein system, because what we think we have there is we have the vein up to surface here. So the vein goes like this, and then it's faulted in a series of faults from a major fault there, like the river. And so whereas at Frontina the vein goes down like that, here it goes like this, and where this fault comes, it's like this again. And where this fault comes, it's like that again. So by going not very deep here and here, you can actually intersect the same vein again. We've also found a parallel smaller vein here, which would reflect the experience up and down the belt in other places. And we have found south of the fault, which is supposed to bound the southern end of the mine, across a 75% breccia zone. South of that, we found slightly offset surface expression of the vein in one place, and also an artisanal working down to about 15 meters, which appears to be the same vein. So we think we found the extension to the south too. But our consultant geologist there was the man who mapped the area for the Geological Survey 30 years ago. He and our team of engineer and metallurgists are working full-time for us. They're shadowing the local company, which is itself very good. And also my colleague, Manoli Yagas, is out there at the moment. We have someone out there every month. So we have supervision, and supervision, and supervision, and we have timelines on everything, and we identify when something like the electrics is falling behind schedule, and we go straight in there and we sort it out. So we are going to really manage this process, and we're going to end up with a good operating mine. And then with that know-how and those systems, we're going to extend what we do to other places. The investment holdings, I told you we had a backstop. We do. Jupiter and Resource Star, just 2 companies alone, we have board representation. We put the assets in. We have £15 million worth there. But I would be really optimistic about those companies. To give you a couple of things, the Chief manganese mine in South Africa is by far the largest open-pittable reserve in the world. It's next to Samancor's Mamatwan, and that'll be in operation in 12 or 18 months. That going into Jupiter raises the size from 80 million to about $500 million. We also, in the assets we put into Jupiter, have the Mount Ida magnetite deposit, which I give particular attention to, which is in Western Australia. And that magnetite is very close to the surface, pretty flat lying, and seems to have the best metallurgical characteristics of almost maybe any magnetite iron ore in Western Australia, in the opinion of experts. So we look as if we may have 1.3, 1.5 billion ton potential magnetite iron ore there, long-term project, water available, and Red Rock has a 1.5% gross production royalty on that. The discounted present value of which, based on publicly disclosed plans by Jupiter, assuming the thing stacks up, would be potentially worth hundreds of millions, many hundreds of millions of dollars to Red Rock. So, new gold company, but not a new company, and some inbuilt value, and analysts beginning to recognize this. I still have some time, I think, so any questions? Oh, I have 1 minute. But let's assume that since they overran it, we've got another 2 minutes now.
Just quoted on the long and so.
We're quoted on AIM, we're traded on Plus, and we can be traded also in Germany.
Plans to move the company to the main market when you reach a certain capitalization?
No. All downsides, no upside.
Downside, no.
Colombia, I'm glad you raised that. Colombia should be cash flow generative, cash flow positive from the end of this year.